So here's the question I want you to sit with for a second. Your webinar's running, leads are coming in, maybe you're even making money, and you're happy with the numbers. But what if I told you you're probably leaving 30, 50, even 100% more revenue on the table? Now, this is not because your ads are wrong, not because your offer is bad, but because of your overall webinar strategy. In this video, I'm going to show you 7 ways our clients are making significantly more money from their existing webinar funnels. Real clients, real case studies, and I promise you, at least one of these is going to change the way about how you look at webinars and even your business. My name is Terrence Tam. I run Radical Marketing, a done-for-you webinar funnel agency, and since 2014, we've generated over 2 million event leads for coaches, course creators, and education businesses. I'm going to take you behind the scenes of 7 different clients, what was going on and what we changed and what happened to their revenue afterwards. So let's get into it. Idea 1 I want to share from this is the money is in the list. So with the first case study, and honestly one of the most powerful business models I've seen anyone build around webinars. Now, you've heard the phrase, the money is in the list. Most people treat it like a cliche. My client Vince actually built his entire business around it. So Vince runs a program in the info marketing space, and when we started working together, his webinars were running at around 2 to 3 ROAS from the front end. Decent, he was profitable, but here's what gets interesting. Vince understood something most businesses completely miss. The front end sell is not the business. The email list is the business. He built a list of over 100,000 people from his webinar traffic. Then he launched over 20 other course creators from the same list. So not just his own products, other people's programs. And the deal he structured, he took an equity share in each one. Think about what that means. 1 webinar funnel, 1 list, 20 different revenue streams where he doesn't just get paid for the launch, he owns a piece of their business. That's like building the cinema, selling the popcorn, and getting a cut of every movie that plays there. So I want you to ask yourself, what are you doing with your lists right now? Idea 2 is to turn your webinar into a conversion engine. All right, so the next case study is Jerry, and Jerry's done something really smart. He doesn't just run one webinar and hope for the best. He treats webinars as a precision conversion event, and that makes a whole world of difference. Let me explain. See, Jerry already ran a 7-figure business in Asia when he came to us, and over 5 years with us, he's grown the business by almost 3 times. And here's how that model works. He starts with multiple lead magnets to generate thousands of leads every single month, and webinar leads as well. Then he segments those leads by what they're interested in, and then he runs additional webinars for each segment every month. And the thing is, he uses trial classes as an easy yes, low commitment, gets the family through the door, builds trust. Then anyone who hasn't converted, he has multiple bundles, he has flash sales to keep pulling these people through. All these, plus the webinar, act as conversion events with the eventual goal of getting students to enroll in his program. And this is what the long-tail webinar system does when it's applied well, segmenting specific follow-up paths and multiple ways to say yes. Most people, they run 1 webinar, get disappointed with the conversion rates and blame the ads. But if you got proper segmentation, the right follow-up, and offers at different commitment levels, the conversion rates stops being a guessing game. Now, idea 3 is the most underrated lever in any webinar funnel, in my opinion. So let me talk about one thing that makes or breaks a webinar funnel in the front end. It's not the creatives, not the funnel design, it's the messaging. 2 quick stories here. So Roy teaches metaphysics and manifestation. Before we worked together, his business had plateaued. Good audience, solid product, but stuck at a 6-figure ceiling. The problem, his message sounded exactly like every other manifestation coach on the internet. Like create the life you want, manifest your dreams, Me Too messaging in a market full of identical voices. We positioned him around one specific idea. Create your own luck using ancient wisdom. That message resonated. He went from 6 figures to 7 figures in a short time we worked with him. But here's what's interesting, and this one might surprise you even more. So Ethan runs a trading education program. When he came to us, he was breaking even. $1 in, $1 out. Not sustainable. We turned it into 12 times ROAS in the first webinar. But we didn't overhaul his program or rebuild the funnel. We fixed the messaging again. Because again, he was using the same angles as every other trading course on Facebook. The same hooks, same big ideas, same language. His previous agency probably had just copied what was working with other gurus. So he was invisible. We repositioned him around AI-powered trading strategies, tapping into a conversation his audience was already having before his competitors figured out the same angle. Look, the fact is, that is what our blitzvertising system is specifically designed to find. Not just a better creative, not just different images, a genuinely different message and big idea that makes your audience stop and say, wow, that's different. Could be the same offer, but just better positioning. And in this case, it creates a 12x return. In fact, this is essential in 2026 if you want your ads to work with the Meta Andromeda update. Because the lesson here is most webinar funnels don't have an ad problem. They have a messaging problem. Now, idea 4 is to build a value ladder around your webinar. What do I mean by this? It's about your offer structure, and specifically why having one high-ticket product is limiting your revenue. So Michael came to us already with a proper value ladder. I cannot claim any credit for this. He had been in the info marketing space for over 10 years when he came to us. And while we helped him to grow 2.5x in the first 3 years of working together, how he structures his offers is brilliant. So he has webinar to low ticket 2-day program, an easy yes for someone to get started. The 2-day program sells a mid-range 1-year membership. That gets people committed and into his ecosystem. Then his higher end training programs for people who want to go deeper is available. And at the very top, he has investment opportunities, real estate and other programs for his most committed long-term clients. And that's not magic. That's serving your audience at every level of readiness. Some people are a $97 yes today. Some people are prepared to invest $500,000 into a real estate deal 9 months from now. The value ladder captures both and everything in between. So the lesson, if your webinar only leads to one program, you might just be missing out on the main chunk of revenue. Now, idea 5 is to get creative with your backend. So this is one of my favorite strategies on this list, and honestly, it surprised me when we saw the results. So Mark runs a monthly webinar. We proposed to him an on-call webinar. A simple idea, just run the webinar again for the people who missed the first one or attended but didn't buy. Guess what? The on-call is generating more sales than the main event. And that's not the only thing. We launched a brand new offer with Mark for his existing list. 0 extra ad spend, one launch, £85,000. So if you're running monthly webinars and not doing an on-call for your non-buyers, you might be leaving a significant chunk of revenue on the table every month because the leads are already there. The trust is already there. You paid for the traffic. An on-call webinar or product launch could be just what you need to get them across the line. Now, idea 6, the webinar pitch might be the problem. So the next one is about what happens inside your webinar, because sometimes the presentation is the bottleneck. We started working with Owen the first month. We absolutely crushed his CPLs, around a quarter of what competitors in his industry were paying. Leads were cheap. Attendance was averaging 60%. People were staying all the way to the end, like 90% of people. But in the first 6 weeks, only 2 people bought his high ticket program and the third one on the payment plan. Ouch. I immediately knew the issue was the presentation and not the funnel. So we dissected the webinar itself, and the issue was clear. It was too much how-to, too much teaching, not enough paradigm shifting. Now, here's what I mean by that. A how-to webinar gives people knowledge, and that knowledge is great, but the knowledge doesn't close sales. What closes sales is changing how someone sees their problem and believing that they can solve it, and why your solution is the thing that's gonna help them. So we restructured the presentation. Less tactics, more belief shifting. The following week, 7 applicants 2 people purchased the high ticket program. 1 week, more sales than the previous 6 weeks combined. So if your attendance is solid, but your conversions are low, don't blame the ads or the funnel necessarily. Look at what's happening in the room. Check whether you're teaching people out of buying from you, right? Idea 7 is actually a cautionary tale. So the last one isn't exactly a genius way. It's more of a warning, but also a great lesson. So we had a client who was doing really well for 8 months, 6-figure launches, strong ROAS, everything was clicking. Then the results started to slide. The last event, we just about broke even. So what changed? See, the client started restricting our creatives and messaging, wanted to review and approve every single word. We scripted videos for them, but he didn't record those videos. Everything had to be signed off before it went out, and I understand that instinct completely. It's your brand, you care about how it looks and sounds. Of course you want to be involved, and that's fine. But here's the thing, Meta's Andromeda update, this is their new AI system for ad delivery. It actually actively rewards creative diversity. It rewards different messaging, different angles working at the same time. So when everything gets filtered through one person's personal preference, not by data, you end up with a very narrow, uniform set of ads. And the algorithm reads that as the same message and your performance tanks. So this has now become one of the things we look at when taking on new clients, is whether the clients can give us free reign on creatives and messaging. Not because your opinion doesn't matter, but because the data has to drive the decisions, not gut feel. The lesson is you need creative diversity and lots of different messages running at once. The moment you try and restrict that, you're fighting the platform instead of working with it. So guys, I hope you got a couple of ideas from this case studies today. Here's the thing. There are a lot of moving parts when it comes to webinar funnels. Sometimes it's the offer, sometimes it's the webinar pitch itself. Other times it might be the funnel, the back end, or just being more creative with your messaging and ads. You've got to look at all these, not just the obvious ones, to get your webinars profitable and scalable. And sometimes it's just one shift, one repositioned message, one on-call webinar, maybe one new offer to the list you already have, and suddenly the numbers look completely different. I hope you certainly got an idea or two you can take away and implement right away. Hit like or subscribe if you got value from this video, and it really does help more people find this content, and plus it's good karma. And if you want more, click here to watch how we built a complete webinar funnel system from scratch, including the long tail, blitz advertising, and total mindshare system, which are our proprietary systems. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.